Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to give people just another minute or two to show up. In the meantime, please feel free to go ahead and enter your attendance code into today's attendance quiz, and it is 6227. Also, I sent out an email not long ago, so feel free to take a look at that too.
Professor McKibben,
Yes.
could you explain what the table you posted having to do with the peer reviews means as far as the numbers go?
Yep, of course. So what we've got there is, you'll see beneath that there are a bunch of different documents that are numbered between 101 and 122. Next to your name, you will see two numbers that are also in the range of 101 to 122. Those two numbers represent the two proposals that you are going to review.
Oh, okay, are they all under peer reviews and content? Oh, I see
They
them now.
are. You might have to hit the load more to get to the bottom ones, but they're all there.
All right, thank you.
Yep, of course.
Dr. McKibben, I think I
yeah,
said only you. Sorry.
I just saw that there's an issue with RamCloud today. That's going to be fun. Great.
I don't know if anybody else is having that problem.
How's your internet otherwise? Is it okay?
Yeah, my internet is good. It says that it's checking the connections and the internet's good. And then it says checking the proxy and the firewall. And I mean, yeah, otherwise I can get on the internet just fine though.
Okay. All right. I will be curious to hear when we get to that point if other people are having the same struggle. If that is the case, what we can do today is you can watch me go through the process, and I'll be recording today, and I can post it so that you can kind of see how to work that through. And then the more important day for hopefully RamCloud not to be down would be Friday, because then you'll have all your data. And my goal was to take you through the process one more time, but let you analyze your own data on Friday. So it won't be happy, but it won't be completely tragic if we can't get up on the RamCloud today. But if we can't, as a group, if it's you, we'll get you some help. If it's everyone, I will put in a help desk ticket to let them know that there's an issue with RamCloud.
Yeah, I can't get in either.
Who just spoke?
Rachel Bullock.
Rachel. Okay, thanks. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for letting me know. I'll try myself, actually, because I was just going to use my regular. I have an SPSS on my desktop that I pay for, but I will try and see if even my RamCloud is down. So let me take a look at that right now. So RAM. Okay. Yep. Yep. There was a problem with RAM Cloud. Okay. Yeah, it won't even let me get to that first step. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do then. We're just gonna go through, I'm gonna let you watch me do this. I'm gonna have it record me. And hopefully by Friday, this is fixed. We do have that flux day now of Monday the 18th, if we really have to go to there for me to show you how to run your data, but we'll make sure something works. But hopefully this is kind of a short-term issue that is unfortunately impacting us today. Okay, so since I think most of people who are going to be here are here, hopefully you got my email. The peer reviews are up and ready for you to do those. I'm giving you a week to do it. It won't take that long. It's a nice exercise, but it's not one of the, it's one of the easier tasks you'll do in this class. Let me put it that way. But it's a good exercise to go through. Your results, your data is coming. You will have it by Friday morning. Some of you are already done, some of you are not. And if you submitted, as long as you submitted a method section, you will be getting data. If you did not submit a method section, I will try my best to make it work from your intro section. If you did not submit either, we need to talk. So that I can get you something that you can play with and work with, okay? So that's where we're at in those pieces. If you have any questions, please feel free to chat them in as I go through this process. But what I want to do basically is show you how to get a data set and run a data set. So the get a data set is going to be a little bit different for me than for you. So we can revisit this on Friday again when we all have hopefully working RAM clouds. But the main thing I want to point out, and let's see if I can now share to I'm just going to share to here for 1 second. So I'm going to either email you your data set or post it for you on D2L. Either way, what you want to do is, I'm going to go under content so I can show you the data set that I posted there for us. Under here. And I'll just show you the way you want to do this. Now this will be slightly different for Mac versus IBM, or versus Windows, I should say, but it should be relatively similar. Notice that if you don't just click on your data set, don't do that, but notice there's an arrow next to the data set. What you want to do is download your data set. If you download your data set, it should go to a space in your downloads folder. For those of you on Windows, that would be C, users, your name, downloads. It may even give you the option of where you'd like to save this. If it does, then if you have that thumb drive that we talked about before, that would be a super thing to do. If it doesn't, then at least you know where it's going. Now, again, it gives me this choice of open with. For me, that'll work. For you guys, it won't, because you don't have IBM on your desktop. So you want to hit save file instead, and then click OK. The next step that you will do is opening SPSS using RAM Cloud. Now, if you missed last time when we were talking about how to open SPSS with RAM Cloud, I did post a couple of videos for you guys under this playlist, under the Sci 246 playlist, that'll guide you through how to set up your RAM Cloud and how to get SPSS open. Okay. So for me, my SPSS is open. And I'm gonna go to a new data set and then share that with you. So this is pretty much what SPSS looks like if you recall when you open it. Now, what you're going to do is go to File, Open, Data. That's File, Open, Data. Now, for me, it came right to this cross-species intelligence data, which is the data I'm playing with for today. Again, remember, if you needed to, you could go to, excuse me, see, users, your name, and then you would go to downloads. I'm not going to click on that right now, but you see where I have the downloads, and it would be right in there. So I know it's a little bit more of a process to open data, but the rest of it is going to be very similar. Okay. So since I just had this open, I'm going to go to my recently used data and go to here, go to my cross-species intelligence data. Okay. So I made up this data set in order to be able to show you how to do some descriptive statistics, how to do a t-test, and how to do an ANOVA. You all will be doing descriptive statistics. However, if you have two groups, right, like you're comparing no pet and pet, or you're comparing treatment or no treatment, then you'll be doing the t-test for independent samples. If you have three groups on the other hand, right? Maybe you have no treatment, hypnosis treatment, or systematic desensitization treatment. Then you'll be doing the one-way ANOVA. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is look at what our data is. Okay, so we've got an ID variable, and all you will have an ID variable, and that's just a way to number the cases. That's all that is. We're not going to use it in any of our analyses. Okay. Then we have species as a potential variable that has three categories: human, Martian, and Vulcan. That could be our IV if we had three categories. And just to make sure we have another variable in case we need that, we could use gender, which has two categories, okay? But I'm going to pretty much pretend that species is our IV, and sometimes I'll treat it like it has two, and sometimes I'll treat it like it has three. Okay, so we got species for our independent variable. You all will have an independent variable that is named group or pet or workload level or something like that. And you'll know it because it'll either have ones and twos or ones, twos, and threes. Then you'll have a dependent variable, which is this CROSPIT variable, which is supposed to be cross-species intelligence test. And that you'll see is a very continuous variable and has all these different values. And then you'll have three sociodemographic type variables. I have four here. I have gender, I have marital, I have age, and I have color preference. Right? I think I put in here red, blue, and green just for something that maybe they prefer a color. Okay, so that's what we're working with. So let's start off with some descriptive statistics, because that's how you're going to start off. And what we're going to do is we're only going to start with the ones that are nominal or categorical, like species that just has a few numbers, 1, 2, and 3, gender, marital, and color. Notice how they all just have a few numbers to them. So they just have a few different categories. Okay. And also more importantly, I would say, is that there's no natural order to these variables, right? You can't really order blue, green, and red for color. You can't really order marital status. This doesn't make sense. Whereas with age, we would say there's younger, there's older, and certainly with the intelligence test, there's an order there. It's a natural order. Okay, so let's go under analyze descriptive frequencies. Analyze descriptive frequencies. And then I'm just going to bring over my species, my gender, my marital, and my preferred color. Notice how at the bottom it says display frequency tables. That's perfect. We want to leave it just like that. Under statistics, there are a whole bunch of choices here, but we don't need to click any of these off. I'm just showing you there's a whole bunch of things I could click off, but they don't really fit with this kind of data. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay. So then I'm just going to click OK. And I already have an output open that we can ignore, but you can see that the frequencies are appearing, and I'm just going to move this over here. The frequencies are appearing in this output window, which you probably can't share. I need to make a new share so you can see it. Okay. Here's the output window. And you can see that it gives me how many people, the N in each group, right? I have 16 people who were self-reported as Vulcan, 14 Martian, 20 human, and more importantly, it gives me the valid percent. So it's frequency and valid percent that you're interested in. So I could say in my results, and we'll talk about that later on, like next time, or even on Monday, it might be another option to talk about that. But we'll talk about this idea that I would say that for species, there were 32% that were Vulcan, N equals 16, 28% that were Martian, N equals 14, and 40% that were human, N equals 20. And then I would do the same thing for gender, the same thing for marital status, the same thing for preferred color. Now, let's say you're in a weird situation where you chose, and I think there's one or two of you who did this. You chose a nominal variable that has maybe 20 categories or something like that, like the name of a school, let's say. What you can just do is you can report that, you know, maybe the most common or the most one or two or three most frequent ones that were reported, and let the rest go, and say a variety of others were reported. Okay, so that's how you would get around that problem. But for most of you, you chose nominal variables that really only had just a few categories. Okay. Oops. Let me go back down here. Okay, so what do we do next? I'm going to stay with this screen so you can see. Analyze, descriptive, and this time we're going to choose descriptive. And this time, so it was analyze, descriptive, descriptive, and this time we're going to choose our scale variables, right? Our continuous variables, which in this case is age and years, and the cross-species intelligence test scores. And again, you can see there are some options here. I kind of like what they have checked off already. They have a nice mean, a standard deviation, a min, a max. I would probably add range to that, just to make sure. I mean, if it gives you the min and max, you could calculate the range, but why bother with that if I can just do one click and it'll give it to me. Then I click continue. Then I click OK. And then here are my descriptive statistics for age and years. and cross-species intelligence test. Notice this time I get my ends, I get my ranges, my min, my max, my mean, my standard deviation. Now that's the bulk of what you have to do for your descriptive analyses. So now it's up to the t-test, the t-test and the ANOVA. So let's do the t-test first. So remember, this is for people who have two groups in their independent variable. So this time I go to Analyze, Compare Means, and Compare Means, Independent Samples t-test. It's the third one down. Okay. So we see now, and you can't see it, can you? I want to show you how that actually looks, but it won't let me. Don't think you can see the screen in front of it. All right, I'll describe it. There's an independent samples t-test window that comes up, and there's a space for test variable and for grouping variable. Well, the grouping variable is your IV, in this case, species. And as soon as you put your IV into the grouping variable, it's going to have some question marks next to your IV, and it's going to want you to click Define Groups. In your case, your group 1 will be 1, and your group 2 will be 2. That's all you have to do. Just enter a 1 and 2 there. I didn't do anything funny where I gave you a 0 or a 1, I don't think, or anything like that. But you're just entering your group values. And then under test variable, you bring over your DV, which in this case is the cross-species intelligence test. Then you can just click OK. Okay, you do see that, so that's good. Okay. So now what you've got is your t-test. So first it starts off by giving you some descriptive statistics, right? I have 16 Vulcans, 14 Martians. Here's the mean for Vulcan, here's the mean for Martian, and here are the standard deviations. Now, you will see down here that there's actually 2 rows for t-tests. The top row is your standard t-test, and as you can see, it says 0.804 for T, 28 for DF, and 0.428 for SIG. The bottom row is a different kind of t-test. It's a special t-test that we don't do by hand. Only SPSS does it for us. And it says 0.782, 21.725, and 0.443. So the natural question is, how do we know whether we're going to use these values on the top or these values on the bottom? So if you remember back to Sci 245 or wherever you took your stats class, then you would recall that this number is the key. You don't want to report this number, but it's going to help you decide whether to use the top row of numbers or the bottom row of numbers. So here's what you do. You compare this SIG value of 0.029, whatever it is for you, to 0.05. If it's less than 0.05, we use the bottom row. If it's greater than or equal to 0.05, we use the top row. Now this is kind of strange because usually you wind up getting to use the top row, but in this case, 0.029 is less than 0.05, so we're going to use this bottom row. All right. So the way that would look for the T statement, because I know sometimes that gets a little confusing, is T, you write the letter T, then in parentheses, you would put 21.725, that's the DF, equals 0.782, that's our T value, comma, P equals 0.443, that's our sig value. Now there's one more little hitch. A lot of you made one-tailed hypotheses. In other words, you made a direction claim in your hypothesis. You said the treatment group would get better, the PET group would have less stress, or so on and so forth. If you did that, that means you get to divide the sig value by 2. So in this case, it doesn't really matter too much because 0.443 isn't even close to less than 0.05, which we would need for significance. But if it was close, then it could make a difference, right? So you get to divide that by 2, and then you compare the sig value to 0.05. If it's less than 0.05, you have significance. If it's greater than 0.05 or equal to 0.05, no significance. All right. So in this case, we don't have any significance. Okay, so that's the whole shebang if you are doing a descriptive statistic followed by t-test. If you're doing an ANOVA, if you've got 3 categories, let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so now I'm going to go under Analyze, Compare Means, and go to the one-way ANOVA. Now I'm thinking again, you probably can't see this new window that popped up. I wonder if I just share this, if that'll be better. I just tried to share my screen instead. And I'm hoping that's better. If it's worse, if you can now see the pop-up, great. If I just made it worse and you can't see anything, if you would chat in and let me know, that would be super. Okay, so let's run the ANOVA. Now I take my species, my IV, and I put it by factor. I take my CROSPIT, my cross-species intelligence test, and I put it by dependent. The one other thing I have to do is I have to go under post hoc and check off Tukey. It's that second column, second one down. Then I hit continue. And then I hit OK. So now my ANOVA comes up. That's this up here that says ANOVA. And I can see immediately when I look at my sig value that I have significance because this sig value is 0.008 and it's less than 5. Now I will say that for ANOVA, we're going to treat everything as two-tailed, so you wouldn't be dividing that sig value by 2. It's only for the t-test you might do that. Okay. So great, I have a significant difference somewhere. Where is it? Well, we'll have to look and see. But I can report this right now as F parentheses 2,47, those are my DFs, close parentheses, equals 5.384, comma, P equals 0.008. That's how I would report it. And then I'm interested in Okay, this is interesting. So what's significant here? Well, that's when I have to go down to this multiple comparison table. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read across each of the lines. Vulcan, Martian, 0.626 significance. Nope, that's not significant. That's not less than 0.05. Vulcan, human. Oh, 0.007. That is significant. That's definitely less than 0.05. And then finally, Martian, Vulcan. That's the same as Vulcan, Martian. I don't need that. But I do want the fourth row, which is Martian, human. And that has a sig value of 0.103. So none of you have more than 3 things you're going to compare. So you can use the first row, the second row, and the fourth row to look at your comparisons. So Vulcan, Martian, not significant. Martian, human, not significant. But Vulcan, human, that one's quite significant. So there is an important difference between Vulcan and human. Now, there is one other trick I want to show you, because you might be wondering at this point, okay, so which one outperformed the other? So let me show you one more trick. If you go under Analyze, Compare Means, and in that one-way ANOVA, under Options, if you check off Descriptives, it'll give you the means as well. So in addition to checking off Post Hoc Tukey, check off Options Descriptives. And I'll show you what that looks like right now. All it does is it adds in this nice little piece here where I can see that the Vulcan score was 710.63, whereas the human score was 648.00. Clearly, the Vulcans got the higher score on average. So when I get down here and I'm looking to compare things, I can just go back to my means to compare them. Okay. So that's mostly what I wanted to show you. And I am sorry we couldn't walk through it together today. That was kind of the goal. But I will post this in case you want to look at it again in slow-mo. And in terms of the results I was talking through, I also posted a results template that you can use. And all you have to do is change out my variables for your variables. Don't feel like you have to change any of the wording per se. Totally fine to use the same wording. Results is very formulaic. So feel free to use the same wording and just change out my stuff for your stuff, and that should go a long way. Okay, so between talking this through and seeing that results section, hopefully you'll be able to see how to report your own results. If not, like I said, I'm thinking now that we have that extra day, Monday, it might be a nice time after on Friday we run results to actually talk about how to report them together. And that will be an optional day. I'm not going to add a day of required attendance for you guys. So I'm just going to now go back in case I know a couple people joined late. If you needed that attendance code, it's 6227. If you have any questions, please feel free to stick around and we can chat. You can chat them in if you'd like to, or you can stick around and talk to me. But other than that, I wish you a great day, and I'll see you again Friday. Hey, Sean, is there anything you need? All right.
Sorry, I was trying to exit. Thank you.
Oh, okay, no problem. You have a great day.
Good.